Yes, folks, your eyes do not deceive you. We're going to do something that I've only ever done once before in my entire lifetime, and at the time, I told myself I would never do it again. That's right, we're going to install Windows Me. But hear me out here, before you go reaching for your keyboards and telling me that I'm insane. Well, number one, I am insane, but number two is that I'm a big believer in only keeping around so many computers for a specific task. And I've got plenty of computers that are running Windows XP. In fact, really, Windows XP is probably a little heavy for something like this. I think it's only got about 256 megabytes of memory installed in it. But I could get quite the surprise. Either way, Windows XP is not really going to be something I'll run on this. I've got plenty of machines that run that. I've got plenty of Windows 2000 machines. Plenty of Windows 98 machines, even though I absolutely hate Windows 98. I've certainly got enough Windows 95 machines. I've got enough DOS and Windows 3.1 machines, and that'd be a little too new for a Pentium 3 anyway. And I've got enough systems that are running Linux, ancient and new alike, that I really don't need another one of those either. So that leaves us with Windows ME. And the thing that really sealed it for me was the fact that this thing has a Windows Millennium Edition COA on the bottom of the computer, so that will make my life just that much easier. So we'll fire it up and get it ready for my nefarious experiment, which could be nothing more than an experiment, because as you'll see very shortly, the hard drive is in incredibly bad health. In fact, it trips a smart warning. I'm surprised the drive even works at all, and it probably won't last very long. I do need to replace that. But of course, there comes a problem, because I don't actually have a whole lot. In fact, I don't have any IDE hard drives lying around, and I've got systems already that are, you know, much better than this would ever be, much more important to me than this would be, that are awaiting hard drives. Okay. So we'll push F1 to continue, and it will boot to the floppy, which for whatever reason is showing 4 partitions. That's kind of hilarious. I have erased it. Take our disk with Windows ME on it, insert it, boot to the CD-ROM. I can't believe I'm doing this. Boot from CD-ROM. Now, hopefully this is going to give me the option to go into F-Disk and prepare the system for use with a smaller partition than what's available on the whole drive. I don't know if this is going to actually work. Let's give it a second. Okay, I had to reboot it before it would actually work, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure why that would be the case. But if you're like me and you don't really care about the drive integrity, which this thing will check, F-Disk, supply that parameter to it. And now, at least in theory, it does it anyway. Well, whatever. So, what I just did is I used F-Disk to make myself a 2 gigabyte partition, because I want to minimize the amount of stuff that this machine has to format it, and I also want to minimize the amount, or minimize the chance of it failing ScanDisk after it does format, because if this thing is going to fail anything, it's going to fail that. Although, being as though this is Windows Mediocre Edition, it'll probably fail before then anyway. Now this, well, it's not as slow as I would have anticipated it being. So I'll come back when it's done formatting. And here's where the problems start to show up. Or maybe not. So it's going to try to install Windows Me, or Millennium Edition. I love how it says it'll take 30 to 60 minutes. That sounds like it's working real well. Alright. So install to C Windows. Thus far, this process is basically exactly the same as Windows 98. In fact, I think it is pretty much exactly the same as Windows 98. Really, the reason why Windows ME gets the undeserved reputation that it does, or actually, sorry, it's totally deserved reputation, I don't know what I'm talking about, but the reason why is because Microsoft did a lot of changes to the way that it worked, but yet, because it was the last version of, consumer-grade Windows, and it was the end of the line for the architecture, nobody ever really bothered to make proper Windows Millennium Edition drivers. They just use Windows 98 drivers, and, I mean, it works. But, I might install that. No. But, it works. But it really just wasn't that great. It wasn't stable, and there were other problems as well. For instance, even though it's based on MS-DOS, even though it's based on DOS, you can't actually exit the DOS or run any DOS programs, which was really quite stupid on the part of Microsoft. But I guess that was a transitional thing, I don't know. Whatever the case may be. Put in all our details. Choose the language closest to where you live. That's hilarious. This is the stuff that it usually asks you during the last portion of setup. Now it wants to make a startup disk. What if I don't want to? It's not going to make a startup disk. I wonder how different all of this information is from the one in Windows 98. I'm going to leave the camera running for this, just so I can go ahead and look at it. If it'll actually work. Well, hopefully it will. So far, though, it's been exactly the same as Windows 98, with a slight reorganization of the order in which you supply information during this first portion of setup. I really hope it doesn't take 24 minutes. But it could, you never know. Sure is taking its jolly sweet time. Should have got out a tripod. That would have been the smart thing to do. Of course, my tripods are buried. And I don't really have anything with which to make a convenient tripod. At least not to where you can actually see the system unit itself. But I'd borrow a studio tripod. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Because we're now on a tripod. This camera is difficult to hold. Hence why I'm doing it this way. This is a really slow process. I might time-lapse it. But you can go ahead and see the entire process. And like I said, the main thing I'm really interested in is to see if any of the information that shows up here is any different than that what you get with Windows 98. I have done this once before, as again previously mentioned, but that was well over 15 years ago. So, that was an interesting noise. The other thing I gotta worry about is whether or not the battery on this camcorder will hold out. I got enough Lithium L batteries that it's not really a big deal though. Probably should get ready to charge it if I have to. Again, so far it seems to be exactly the same as Windows 98. They didn't even bother to change any of the information. I went past that so fast I couldn't even see what it said. Something about MSN though, which I think was actually new. MSN Messenger. I know that one was in Windows 98. I think. The wording looks familiar at least. And some of them are a little different. If this were any other video, this would be something I would skip through. I wouldn't bother to show you any of this, but since this video is, yeah, it's definitely new. Windows Movie Mauler was first included in ME, so. But if this were a normal video, I wouldn't show this. The whole point of this particular video is to be installing Windows Millennium Edition on this computer, so that's why I'm showing this to you. In partial time-lapse form. Windows Update is not new to Windows Millennium Edition. That was in Windows 98. Didn't work. Yeah, that's definitely also same as it is in Windows 98. So we'll go ahead and reboot. I sure hope that didn't go out of focus for most of that. I just realized that. But I think we might be okay. Hopefully. If not, I might have to splice in some footage from a virtual machine or something. I don't care about that. Should probably just turn that warning off in the BIOS, but I usually like to leave those on. And actually, if the end goal is to put a CF card adapter in this, and really it is, then I might just leave it off. Yeah, this is not going to be a short video. Here we go. Ooh, that's different. Of course, it probably won't find any of the drivers for any of the hardware, and I'll have to put it on like a USB stick, or a CD-ROM if I get really unlucky. Of course, I got a CD-RW sitting out somewhere around here that I can use. Should at some point ask me for a product key. I think that's the next phase of setup. I thought I just set up the plug-and-play devices. Ah, here we go. This is the portion of setup where it should ask us for a product key. Because I'm a dork, I didn't actually write it down. So this could be fun. Totally read that carefully. Yep, here we go. Product key time. Okay, well, after accidentally cutting power to the system, trying to look at the sticker on the bottom, having to go through the process again. I didn't have to reinstall from scratch again, but I did have to go through this portion of setup. We got the product key entered. Everything is okay. Let's see what it does next. So I try and break everything in sight. Yeah, here we go. Oh, good lord, that's gonna take forever. Does it really need to take that long? No, it's Windows Millennium Edition. You know, the thing I love the most is that it doesn't actually tell you what component it's working on. There's probably a reason for that. I mean, holy crap. Sure is taking its sweet time. Wow, this is a almost 24-minute long video already. I'm sure nobody's gonna watch this. It's gonna run me out of tape before I even get to the last couple of videos I need to record on it. And of course, 90% of it's gonna be time-lapse too, on top of that. The hazards of shooting video on videotape, I swear. Less than a minute. Really now. I love how the bottom bar is done and yet it's still going on working on something. Okay. Let's reboot the computer again. Keep on going. This should be the first clean boot. Then we'll have to do a driver installation. I'm sure it's not going to know any of the hardware that the system has in it. Type a name to identify yourself to Windows. Enter a password if you want to. Tip, if you don't enter a password, you won't get this prompt again at startup. Well, I don't want it, so I'm the only person who's ever going to be using this machine anyway. So we'll give it a go. We'll see just how long this takes. Alright, so there we go. Definitely no drivers. So I'll have to go get those. That's kind of amazing, actually. I can use the USB stick on this system. So, we'll see what happens. Hopefully this is actually the right version of this, or that I got the model right. Because I don't know exactly what model it is. It doesn't tell me anything about it. It just says L8400, so I don't know if it's a B, a C, a CE, an L, or what. But I think that's probably going to take a while. Well, that's brilliant. Evidently this isn't the right system. What audio chipset does this actually have on it? Because I just noticed there is actually a driver installed for the sound. In fact, there's a driver installed for pretty much everything, except for the VGA. It's ESS Allegro. Okay, well that's interesting. Let me go see if I can find on the Asus website a system that matches that. Okay, well, I hope that the VGA... Why is it putting it into the temp folder? There, we're putting the VGA. Let's see if it runs something. Nope, it's going to make me go and navigate to it. Oh, Windows Millenium Edition. Isn't that fun? See, Windows, tap Windows. Apparently this keyboard is crap. VGA. So what do we get? A setup. Yes, I do. Do you want to reboot your system? Yes, I do. Let me take that USB stick out because it, knowing my luck, it's going to try to boot to it. Shut up. Windows Me. That's a little better. Still wouldn't say it looks correct. It's definitely a little better than it was. My audio is still really not working properly. Because I noticed a weird thing. Let's see if it'll actually do it for us here. Watch this. I'm going to turn this up. And it's going to turn it right back down again. It's not on the optical drive. The optical drive has its own little thing. I don't see a manual volume wheel anywhere else, and I don't see any keyboard hotkeys for it. So that's a very strange reaction. Does work. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, maybe I'll see if I can install the proper ESS driver or something. The audio is now actually working, so I don't know what the deal was with whatever driver it installed. That was kind of hilarious. Either way, I think the system is functional. It's got a weird amount of installed memory, though. I happened to notice that. 384 megabytes. Oops. So, anyway, there you go. There's Windows Millenium Edition on a computer. And, oh yeah, there we go. We have no more unknown devices. So we're good to go. It has an ESS Win modem in it, so that was what the one unknown, I don't remember what it was. It was a standard PCI device or something. That's what that was. So I think that's going to do it for this video. Well, that makes me wonder, about this system itself. What kind of MIDI do we have? I don't think this has any MIDIs on it. Oh, we got this bastardized control panel. I hate that. It's even worse than it was in Windows XP and later. I think MIDI is under here now. Yeah, voice. Or maybe not. Oh yeah, there we go. Nope, we just had the GS. Okay, that sucks. Oh well, here's what it is. So that's going to conclude the video. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, somehow I suspect there will be quite a few of them, leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off, and I hope to see you next time. Till then.